You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
He's got it! Oh, baby!
Every week, Travis Currah.
That's Grey Cup me, which is a different person.
And Brazilian Ty.
Hunters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Oh, nearly intercepted, and it's over!
Ready, set, hunt!
And we are part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. Travis Currah, Brazilian Ty. The first round of the playoffs are in the books. But Ty, how was that? I don't know, 22-hour drive home?
Oh, man.
What did you get? 5 hours of sleep on the side of a mountain road in the blasting snow?
I wouldn't call it sleep. I left Burns Lake at 5:22. I got to the Terry Fox Mountain pullout, just, 10 kilometers south or 10 kilometers west of the Mount Robson Visitors station or whatever.
Like, you're in the heart of the Rockies in a blizzard?
Once I hit that Highway 5 junction and go to Valemont, you couldn't see lines on the road.
No.
So I'm like, I got to find a place.
I've been fortunate enough to grow up in prairie blizzards and prairie winters.
Where if you hit the ditch, it's just a ditch. It's not
true.
the side of a mountain into the river.
Rockies, snowstorms, they're a different animal, brother.
Well, and the plan was to drive through the night, get home at like 7, have a nap.
And then get up and watch the games?
Get up at 11 and watch the games. I pulled into that rest stop at like 12:30. I can't, this is stupid. I can't do this. Slept on and off. I maybe got an hour total out of those 5. I took my own blanket to camp, so I was bringing it home anyway, and my own pillow.
Linus.
So I was lucky that way. Yeah, basically. But hey, it worked. Emergency. I didn't have to leave the truck run because did I stop for gas in McBride like I always do? No, because I'm an idiot. I stopped in Prince George. If I would have stopped in McBride, I would have left that truck run all night.
No.
And then, I'm like, oh, once I get to the Alberta border, it'll be clear sailing. Jasper was worse.
Oh, your entire drive was blizzard, I think.
Until I hit Edmonton, and then it was clear.
And then it was okay. Wow.
It took me a 12-and-a-half-hour drive. Took me 16 hours.
I questioned your dedication straight to your face the other day.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't even a drive-by. It wasn't a ricochet. It was...
No subtweets.
It was don't shoot till you see the white of his eyes.
And I think he's making it happen. Ty did what he needed to do to be here for the show, and I appreciate you for it, my man.
Oh, is that what you appreciate about me?
I do. This episode of Two and Out is brought to you by Alberta Blue Cross. Alberta Blue Cross understands that running a small business is tough, and they understand that business owners in Alberta are busy. So let Alberta Blue Cross give you peace of mind with a group benefit plan. They offer health, dental, life, and disability coverage for your employees. Alberta Blue Cross group benefit plans are easy to manage anywhere, anytime, and on any device, making it easy for you and for your employees to access. To learn more and explore your options, head to ab.bluecross.ca. We start with the Eastern semifinal, where the Montreal Alouettes look to beat the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the playoffs for the first time since 1998 or 96. The losing streak started in 98.
Yeah.
What a remarkable playoff stat. And the Als get off to a dynamite start. 28-17 was the final score. The Als triumphing and punching their ticket to the East Final to play the Toronto Argonauts. But I think one of the coolest stories of the season has been Chandler Worthy. Gets cast off by the Argos, and he had been a few times. He was kind of linked to McLeod Bethel Thompson, but the Als picked him up. And what a great story he's been for the Alouettes on special teams. And they already had a dynamite returner in Mario Alford, and they ended up trading him to Saskatchewan because I guess Worthy was so good. And Alford, I know the Riders didn't make the playoffs, but he was a great addition.
Well, and Worthy got his chance, or got the chance when Alford was banged up and couldn't play.
Yeah.
they bring in Worthy I think at training camp or just before the season started, and he performs lights out. Where Mary Alford becomes, what's the word I'm looking for? It's tradable, expendable.
Yeah.
And now and you look at it, and
Well, now they're both special teams nominees,
right? Which is crazy when you have Renee Paredes in the West.
It is
ridiculous.
It is.
But I mean, it gave the Riders a chance, to make the playoffs because they were getting no help from anybody. It seemed, whether it be O-line, Cody, the OC, and Mary Alford was giving them that field position when he was able to get in the lineup. So, I mean, they kind of had an abundance of talent at that position, and Chandler where they can, and so can Alford. They can pitch in on offense as well. And I mean, he had that big return today.
Well, the reason I brought him up is because the game started with a 49-yard kick return from Worthy. It was actually his only kick return of the day. He did add 94 punt return yards, including a 47-yarder. So he was big when it came to flipping the field position for the Alouettes here, especially early on. And that early return ended up being massive because the game starts with a Montreal Alouettes touchdown. And it didn't take them long. They had obviously amazing field position starting at the 54-yard line. And what we saw was something we hadn't seen all 2022. Touchdown Jake had 19 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. In 2022, he only had 2. But we're 1 week into the playoffs, and he's added another one. Yeah. 2 big catches on that first drive.
Yeah, I don't want to say rounding into form, but like we kind of wondered if something was up. I don't know if teams kind of focused on him. I don't know maybe if there was nagging injuries or whatever, but it's a home playoff game. They know that teams are going to be focusing on Geno Lewis because he's been arguably the best receiver in the league this year.
Yeah.
It's been nuts. So there's going to be opportunities for him, and he definitely contributed. I mean, he did have a touchdown, but to capitalize on that opportunity is huge. And just to even build confidence, didn't have a great year, touchdown-wise and stuff like that. But, kind of like Hamilton was late in the year, building up. They make their push. Jake Wieneke can make that push too. Now you got 2 solid options. And you got guys like Julian Grant, too, that, I mean, Trevor Harris doesn't have to throw the ball deep to these guys. They can get the ball and make plays close to the line of scrimmage.
And Trevor Harris has kind of become the guy that will be steady Eddie, and I think you'd like to see him finish more drives. That goes without saying. I'm sure the Alouette coaches would say that as well. But for the most part, he's really good at protecting the ball. And I know there was an interception here late in the first half and ended up going off of a receiver's hands. So it's not 100% on the quarterback in situations like that. But touchdown Jake was big early on. Harris was looking his way on second down, and then Geno Lewis, the massive catch on the second drive of the game for the Alouettes. He had 8 targets, 7 catches, 98 yards. 2 of the leading target getters in the CFL were squaring off in this game, and Tim White and Geno Lewis were both making plays all over the field. But very early on, 14-3 Montreal, and the Ticats offensive line was really struggling. We saw procedure penalties. We saw them letting get through to Dane and putting pressure on Dane. The Owls defense did not have to worry about the run. Even though the Ticats were never really so far out of it, they had to abandon it. Wes Hills had 5 carries.
They never establish it.
No. And it was a costly, I think, mistake in this one.
It's too late to do it now. Like, I don't know. You can't completely change how you run your offense coming into a playoff game after doing it for 20 weeks or 21 weeks and 18 games. That's a huge adjustment. That's got to be done in training camp, and they have to commit to it there. You can't do it in a week of practice. And so we knew they were setting themselves up for this. We knew, and all the teams around the league know it. It's not like we're, this isn't national treasure. We're not hiding. We're not keeping secrets. We're not writing them on the back of placards and handing them to coaches. They all know. And eventually teams are just going to figure out, well, we just send 4. You don't necessarily have to blitz. Safety will help over the top. And then when you do blitz, or you can disguise it, and Noel Thorpe, I mean,
there was a blitz late in the game that sealed the game for the Owls.
The Beverett sack.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you have a guy like that and you're not going to run the ball, he's going to figure out a way. And a lot of those sacks can be coverage sacks because you can have 8 guys back.
It was late in the first quarter where the Cats ended up 2nd and 29, and they end up hitting Tim White for a 30-yard gain. And it looked like some momentum, and it was critical because they were down 14-3, and then they get into a 3rd and 2 situation, and they kick a 23-yard field goal. I can see that smirk on your face, and I know you take the points on the road, and I know that's the smart way to play, but the Owls had all of the momentum, and I think if you're going to allow them to take over, from their own 20 at that point in the game when you're making big plays and try to establish something, but you're right, they never really attempted to establish the run, and we've seen, the Rider game.
That's a broken record. This is the last 4 seasons in Hamilton.
Yeah, when the Ticats beat the Riders earlier this season, Wes Hills had 25 carries, and then he had 11 against Calgary. He had double digits the 2 weeks before that as well, and he had a 6-yard average on the season. He had over 6-yard average on his 5 carries in this game. The Owls defense, Armando Sewell, look, I know he's a baller, he's a veteran in the league, but when their main defensive tackle is getting to your quarterback twice, and Mike Moore had a sack, Chris Aki had a sack, they were all over in Hamilton's backfield, and they didn't have to worry about looking for the run.
And before the game, I was listening to TSN.
Radio at this point.
Yeah, radio. In the truck on the way home, and they were talking about like the depth that the O-line in Hamilton has, and how guys, who is it? Revenberg is a backup today, and all this.
Van Zyl was,
or Van Zyl, sorry, was a backup, and it's like, yeah, they have all this depth at offensive line, but yet they're not keeping Dane upright. So where's the missing link here? What's happening? And Noel Thorpe going against that. I mean, I know I just said it 5 seconds ago, but I mean, it's crazy how good of a DC he is. Especially
when the right tackle, Colin Kelly, was struggling, and that's where Van Zyl likes to play. I mean, if he's not 100% and you don't want to get him into the game, then why dress at all?
Why dress him? We'll get into that in the BC Calgary game.
That's the big question. Now, it was late in the first half. Hamilton ends up picking off Trevor Harris. They can't get anything done. Montreal gets it back, but they miss the field goal. Halftime, it's 22-6. So if you're a math major, you know that the Owls only had 2 field goals the rest of the game here. So the Ticats defense stood up. They weren't able to get stops in the first half, but in the second half, the Ticats defense was also getting to Trevor Harris, and those defensive tackles, Micah Johnson was in his face. Ted Laurent had a sack here. So they were putting pressure on Montreal, and they did their job for the Ticats offense, who made the switch at quarterback with Matthew Schiltz coming into the game. Was it too little too late? What did you think?
I don't know if too little too late. Maybe if Dane Evans would throw to somebody other than Tim White. He threw 2 balls to Wes Hills, and the rest of his passes, one other pass went to Stephen Dunbar, which was incomplete, and every other completion, there was only one wide receiver one receiver for Hamilton that had a reception, and it was Tim White in the first half. A reception in the first half was Tim White. Schiltz comes in, and he's willing to spread the ball around, and they score right away. Have you looked at the drive chart?
For the Cats? Well, let's pull it up right now.
Field goal, punt,
it's ugly.
Field goal, pick, punt, TD, punt, field goal, pick, fumble, end of game.
There it is. Pretty ugly.
And they wouldn't shut up about how Dane Evans thrives in a platoon. or, you know, likes to be pushed, needs that leadership. It's like, if you're a starting quarterback, you're supposed to be the leader in the dressing room. That's your job. You're the field general.
Yeah.
You need to be in a leadership position. If you can't do that, you can't start. You should not be starting football games.
You see that dive by Jovan Santos Knox? And the Oscar goes too.
And then they did the right thing and gave him both penalties.
Yeah, I'm so glad that happened.
And people who bitch and moan say, "Well, if I hook a guy, how can he dive? How can you get both?" Because you literally can do both.
Yeah. So, I mean, that being said, it was Lestage for Montreal who ended up bumping Santos Knox, but you don't really notice an offensive lineman, but he had a massive block in open field for the big Walter Fletcher touchdown. He was all over the place making plays on that Alouette offensive line. In the second half, there was the moment there where the Cats ended up forcing Montreal to punt, but then they take the contacting the kicker penalty, and then they stuff Dominic Davis on 3rd and short. So they ended up with better field positioning than if the punt stood.
I don't know how you don't punt that there.
Yeah.
And like everybody says, oh, it's only a yard. You should be able to get a yard. The defense is a yard off the ball. It's not like the defense has to stay a yard off the ball. I'm tired of this argument.
Right.
Like the minute the ball snapped, the defense can move forward.
They can.
Like it's allowed. It's a
breaking
thing.
News.
It's not like the forward pass in the 20s.
I wrote down to mention Pickett for the Alouettes. He was kind of all over the place. He had a kick return. He had a big special teams tackle. He added, I think, 5 defensive tackles to his name. So shout out to him. And I guess there was a Darius Pickle. Yeah. Or Pickett, sorry.
I'm Pickle Rick.
3 tackles on special teams, 2
he
defensive
led
tackles.
the Alouettes in tackles.
Wow. Yeah. He was all over the place. And then we mentioned the former Ticat, Tyrese Beverett, who you talked about the blitz. He had 2 sacks in this one, including 1st and 15, 2:14 left, Hamilton's last hope, and Beverett was right up the middle.
Blew up that play.
Yeah,
like came in untouched.
He did.
I don't know how that happened.
He did. So I think if you're a Montreal fan, of course, you're excited to be going to the Eastern Final, but you do want to see that second half probably worries you a little bit from the offense. If you're Hamilton now, we got a lot of questions to address in this offseason, hosting the Grey Cup next year. And I feel like this is only a recent phenomenon where fans feel like teams need to sell the farm to be in the Grey Cup game.
This isn't junior hockey.
Yeah, you want a more long-term thing, and I know Saskatchewan did it in 2013, and maybe it's a bit of a different conversation because Hamilton hasn't won a Grey Cup since the 90s. Yeah,
they're in the position the Riders were in 2013.
Because they do have a solid core of talent, I believe. They need to add some pieces here. Maybe they're very similar to the Riders now. There's some talent in Hamilton on the defense. There's some talent. Tim White, you can't deny his talent on offense. I think Wes Hills has a chance to rush for 1,000 yards in the right offense if they'll give him the opportunity. Yeah. But we saw the, performance from the Hamilton offensive line today. Maybe they are kind of similar teams even now.
Well, yeah. I'm cheering for the Argos now, obviously, just to inflict as much pain as possible. But you saying that these two teams are very similar, once you start to think about it and you start spelling it out, it's like, oh, man. Maybe they are in more pain than we think. Back-to-back Grey Cups, great. You lose them both. You had a chance to win this last one. Went to overtime. The first one you weren't in, really. You got boat raced, but they've become that just because it was only 2 years and they were good again. Or not good again, but in the playoffs again, they almost feel like perennial contenders.
Right.
And you have the likes of a Delicate coming back. Laurent's there.
He had another great game. Like that guy is a great player. Yeah.
Simone Lawrence, like they're keeping core guys. They pick one between Dane and Jeremiah. They had to pick one.
Yep.
Don't know which one's going to be the right one until you put him in that situation. Turns out maybe Dane's not the guy. We don't know. See what happens with that. Bo's available. But like, and then you look at the Riders, like they keep Shaq. Guys like Dan Clark, Fajardo sticks around. Mike Edom comes back and didn't have a great year, but I mean they're keeping a core group of players together, and they're not winning.
Mm-hmm.
And this year they were kind of mirror images of themselves, where it just seemed like Rider fans would bitch about Jason Moss. Tiger Cat fans would bitch about Tommy Condell. It's like, oh my God, what is happening right now?
There were some decisions by Steinauer that are getting questioned. I don't know.
Every time Dickie's shown on the camera, he looks like he's lost. Yeah. So fans are like, what is he doing? What is happening right now?
Montreal had the ball for 33 minutes and 23 seconds. And look, Standback had over 6.5 yards a carry. Fletcher had 11 yards a carry, 77 yards rushing. When you're able to rush like that, you're going to control the clock. And I know Harris is not pushing the ball downfield all that often. When they do, Geno Lewis is pretty reliable when it comes to that. Had a 33-yard completion there. Harris, 27 of 34, 243 yards, a touchdown and a pick. It was enough to win the game. And you talk about Hamilton, Bo available in the offseason, and it's
Fajardo probably.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions that are going to be happening here. Now, Michael Walker has been emailing the show throughout the season with poems for Al Bradbury or great questions, throughout the season. And today he's got a question for each game. So we'll just do the East Semi one. He goes, are the Ticats the perfect example of the old saying, if you have two starting quarterbacks, you don't have a starting quarterback?
Feel like I've said that this year.
Yeah, I do too.
Or not this year, but last year for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, having that insurance policy, if something does go down, like for an injury, whatever, it's great. But when you're platooning them, then yeah, you don't have one.
He also goes, how excited are you for the big Jordan Davis, Tyler Hubbard, and Josh Ross Grey Cup halftime show? The announcement was made on a Friday after 7 o'clock Eastern. So it does seem, to me, it's obvious.
They were burying it.
It wasn't the original choice. But, I mean, young talent, like a couple of those guys are in the 9 figures streaming on Spotify. Like, it's not like they are throwaway guys. And, I mean, the fact that you're able to get 3, I think, pretty good talents in country music. It'll be exciting. I just think we don't.
One of them's Canadian, so people can stop bitching.
Yeah, and maybe we don't need to go attacking artists if they get the biggest.
It's not their fault.
One of the biggest gigs of their. It's like when a guy like Michael Riley gets offered, $700K.
Sean Horkoff gets offered that $5.5 million contract, and other fans get mad at him.
You can say no.
No, I'm only worth 2. Like, shut up.
Yeah, no, I don't want that gig.
About management. Complain about the front office. I'm complaining about the player.
Yeah, no,
unless
I don't
that
want
player's
that
Mitch Marner.
Okay, let's talk about the West Semi here. BC Lions, 30,000 people there, and they beat the Calgary Stampeders 30-16. Now,
addressing guys.
Okay, what did you want to talk about regarding addressing guys there?
How do you wait that long to put Bo into this game? Like, yes, if you want Jake Maier to be your starting quarterback, then he should be playing the whole thing. But when you have Bo, and it's win or go home, why wouldn't you play that card earlier before you're down 2 scores late in the 4th?
It was a giant conversation there, and when he came in, he looked great.
He looked pissed off.
He did. He almost looked like he didn't care a little bit. Yeah. But the throws he was making, to me, it looks like Bo still got it. It's
like hitting shanks on the range, and then you step up to the first tee. It's like today's gonna suck. And then you pipe one down the middle. It's like, oh, this game's easy. And then you shoot at 130.
Yeah. So let's face it, the Calgary offense couldn't get anything going. And in the first half,
and no Peyton Logan.
Yeah. So that's another thing. The smaller rosters in the CFL, you need to make some hard decisions. Malik Henry gets in, but now they want Mills and Carey. But they got those guys going, and they never really established them.
No. And I mean, you can't argue about getting Malik Henry back to the lineup today. 119, 7 of 10 for 119.
Yeah.
He was lights out today.
They were going to him early and often, too.
But yeah. Kadeem gets 8 carries. Diedrich gets 2. 5 targets.
It wasn't enough to them. The leading rushers in the CFL.
BC didn't go up by 2 scores.
No.
Or 3, or up by 17, go up by 3 scores to where they couldn't run the ball. You have Kadeem Carey, feed him the rock.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about how he's arguably one of the best running backs in the league, and they give him 8 carries.
Yeah.
Let him get going. It's the same thing with William Stanback. They talked about in pregame. The more you give him the ball, the better he gets. The defense gets worn down. He gets a sweat on, and he wants to keep going.
No.
Same thing.
I think if the Lions make it to the Grey Cup, it would be remarkable. But I still feel, you remember when the Bombers beat the Stamps in 2019 in the West Semi? The Bombers were better built for the cold. Mm-hmm. They were better built than the Stamps. I think they
had a bad weather back.
Yeah, and now I just think the Stamps are better built for the cold than the Lions.
Well, and playing indoors in home games makes a big difference. I know half your schedule is outdoor in the CFL anyway if you're BC, but still.
Obviously, we got to play, and we got to see what happens there. But I think Calgary had a real opportunity here, and Jake Mayer goes 12 of 22, 138 yards. I mean, of course, he didn't turn the ball over, but just couldn't get it done. And I thought there was some strange discipline problems there. Mike Rose, he goes offside on the 3rd and short.
You know what they're trying to do.
You had one job. You could just walk to the end zone. Yeah. Exactly.
Just sit down.
Yeah.
Like T-ball. Start picking, they're not snapping that ball.
Yeah. Well, they didn't snap the ball, and Rose goes offside, and there ended up being that horse collar, roughing the passer. So it was just some undisciplined stuff that we're not
people
really
are going to complain about that horse collar. It's inside the jersey. It's inside the jersey, man. That's all it needs to be.
It's just, it's like as he was wrapped up, he had a little tug,
Yeah.
It's just one of those.
But then you start bringing that in. Where do you draw the line on it? You can't, right?
I know. The Stamps did force a James Butler fumble. Mm-hmm. And Butler, he's not playing 100% out there, and they still gave
had
him
20 carries.
Exactly. Still giving him 20 carries because, I mean, they want to protect their star quarterback. And hey, Nathan Rourke, the foot's sore. He's elevating it on the sideline every time.
When he's getting hit, he's making sure that he kicks it out.
Yeah.
Like they mentioned that. And then once you start watching for it, it's like, man, that's not natural. Like I just feel like that's going to make it worse. It's going to get caught. Mm-hmm. Like in a more awkward position than it would be if he just went down with it.
So the fact that he was still able to throw for 321 yards is pretty wild. Now, of course, he does have those receivers that if you just throw in their vicinity, they're going to make it happen. I mean, even the touchdown throw to Alexander Hollins, who has been a late addition to the Lions roster late in the season. He's made plays. Lucky Whitehead not playing. Hollins gets in wide open in the end zone, but Rourke still had to stand in there and take the hit and complete the throw.
Take the hit to make the play. Good Canadian kid.
Yeah. So, I mean, he knows it's playoffs. He knows it's on the line. He's taking the hits, but he's hurting, and I think we know it.
Well, I don't think anybody's coming into a division semi at 100%.
Yeah.
The fact that we know exactly what his injury is and the process that he's been through with surgery and rehab and all that stuff, it also shows like the respect on the other side of the ball. Players aren't trying to roll up on them.
Yeah.
Players aren't, taking dives at them because they know that they're going to get penalized for it. But they don't want to end a kid's career.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're Garrett Marino. But yeah, like he's not 100%. He still does this. Like he took off a couple times. He looked good while he was running. I think that's adrenaline and all that stuff. And then once you stop and the blood your heart rate kind of slows down for a bit when you're on the bench, it probably gets really freaking sore real fast.
Everything is hindsight 2020, and I know I mentioned, that maybe the Ticats should have went for it, but there were opportunities where maybe the Stamps should have taken the points, or
if they take the points when they could have, it would have been 29-22.
Yeah.
Or no, 27-22.
Yeah. And there were points where they were getting a little too cute.
Yeah.
Where it was 3rd and 2 and they tried the wide run to Malik Henry and BC read it like a book, but you got Tommy Stevens.
3rd and 2 and they try to throw that little dump off pass over the middle.
Yep.
It's like, and it's 2 yards too far. It's like, don't try to reinvent the wheel here, guys.
No. Tommy Stevens, he's almost an automatic. And I know it was 2 yards, but you got the leading running back in the league, one of the best offensive lines in the league, and they were just, I think, getting a little too cute at times here. And
maybe worried that BC had maybe been like, well, they know we have this. They're going to be geared up for it.
Yep.
Maybe you try to use that as a weakness, like using your opponent's aggression against them, but it didn't work out.
They might have had
worked out for Antonio Pipkin, though.
They might have even had a stop in the first drive of the game for BC, pass interference on Moxie. And I mean, there you go. That's 3 points right into field goal range for the Lions. Hey, you're right. Now, at the end of the first half, the Stamps hit work twice. There's 2 sacks, and I'm thinking this isn't even close to over. Yeah. The Stamps are going to be coming.
This is 2019 for Mike Riley all over again.
It was 13-6 at half for the Lions. And what a play that was. Short yardage. Antonio Pipkin. He drops back to pass. Talking about a guy who was under pressure as well.
And Calgary read it.
Wide open. Yeah, they did.
Wide open. And too, like you look at the time left on the clock, their field position, it's not going to kill them if they don't make this.
Yep.
Like it's the right time to do it.
Yep.
And it happened.
Keon Hatcher.
And it worked out.
Yep. What a beautiful touchdown pass there if you're a BC Lions fan. And shout out to Keon Hatcher, I think, overall, who has a great game here, to say the least. 8 catches, 162 yards, and that big touchdown. What a performance from Hatcher. And now it's right about this time where Bo comes into the game. And it was 20-6. Nothing going for the Calgary
Rider fans
offense.
Are all horned up now after his first drive.
So there's about 11 minutes left in the game here, and the Stamps are starting at their own 12. And the drive ended up in a field goal, but man, they drove all the way down the field. And we saw Bo hit Malik Henry for a 32-yard completion, and he's just throwing them right in there. He hit Henry later on. Yep, for another 30-yard completion.
Those Malik Henry catches were ridiculous, and the Luther one was real good too. Like, his receivers made plays as well. Let's not forget that. But I mean, like you said, Bo came in, and he's not going to lose his job. Like,
no, I was all of a sudden I'm like, what if
Are they going to bring Bo back?
Like, what if
he gets them to the West Final? Who do they start?
They'd have to start him.
Okay, so they start Bo. They beat Winnipeg. Go to the Grey Cup. Bo is obviously going to start the Grey Cup. He wins another Grey Cup. What do you do? Are you trading Jake Mayer at this point?
Like, just imagine.
Like they would have done it to themselves.
Yeah. That would have been, I think, one of the most incredible storylines in CFL history.
What a way for Huff to go out if that
Yeah.
would have been
Yeah.
if that would have happened, and it is Huff's last year, it would have been unreal.
Your quarterback wins the Grey Cup, the contract's given to the backup, and you let him walk. Like that would have been.
And he goes like 2 hours north, maybe.
Yeah. Would have been wild. Now, yeah, 20-9 BC at
No,
that
but Travis, answer the question.
Oh, to
What do you-
Edmonton?
No.
Oh,
Bo wins you that. Bo comes in, wins this game, beats Winnipeg next week, wins the Grey Cup. What are you doing?
I think at that point, Bo is like, I told you so, and he's gone.
Bo was Lanny McDonald.
Oh, that would be crazy. That would be absolutely. Well,
I let him
it didn't
walk.
happen, but
No, but I would let him walk and be like, thanks for the Grey Cups, but I mean,
I think that's what
we
would
signed
happen.
Jake for less than what you're gonna want, so
I know, yeah. That's what would have
this
happened.
would have been just such a great story though.
Yeah, it would have been. Now, it's 8 minutes left in the game, 20-9 for the Lions here. The Stamps just had a really nice drive there, but the Lions come in here, I think, with a signature drive, and Calgary had no answer. They needed the stop. They couldn't get it. Butler was given the ball. Nathan Rourke hit Hollins. He's throwing it into these tight windows. And then the catch from Brian Burnham, returning to the roster, doing what Brian Burnham has always done throughout his CFL career, making an absolutely ridiculous highlight catch, and Rourke throwing it only where Burnham could get it.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful play.
Ridiculous.
to
Ridiculous.
Put the Stamps away, basically.
Yeah, that was the final nail in the coffin. I mean, Calgary comes back down 58 yards in 8 plays and scores that touchdown. Tommy
Yeah,
Stevens
they do have a
with that
touchdown
sneak.
next, but yeah.
But I mean, it was too little, too late. It
Yep.
was. I think that was just demoralizing. It's like they needed a stop. A stop gives them that chance. They go down, get that touchdown, and the short kick. I'm not calling them onside kicks anymore.
Because they're all onside kickoffs.
They're all onside kick on kickoffs. Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, it's a lot that has to go right for Calgary
Yeah,
at that
of
point. So I
course.
think, yeah, there's a chance, but that chance is so small that you're just kind of on the sideline, like, oh, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Now BC is going to Winnipeg for.
I missed that commercial.
It was a great commercial for the Western Final. Now, Rourke is probably going to have a sore foot pretty bad when you're listening to the show. James Butler is going to be banged up, but they might be able to bring Lucky Whitehead back onto the roster.
Who are you
going to
taking out?
Winnipeg. Well, it's probably Hollins, even though he had a
After
nice
that?
game and he had a
He's
touchdown.
had a nice run here.
He has 5 catches, 73
If it ain't
yards.
broke, don't fix it.
I just love last year in the snow, the Western Final in Winnipeg, Lucky Whitehead, the Winnipeg Toque, and now he could be playing in that Western Final in Winnipeg for the Lions.
Oh, great.
I'm going to have my popcorn ready for that one, but questions need to be answered for the Calgary Stampeders. I think we know Bo's gone. We know that. Now, there were words that came out this week that this might be John Hufnagel's last game as the general manager of the Calgary Stampeders.
Yep.
Danny Austin of the Calgary Sun, the morning of the West semifinal, says this could be the last season that Calgary Sports and Entertainment owns the Calgary Stampeders. So,
Pardon?
yes, there is a lot of things that are going to be happening in Calgary in this offseason. And it's
You know what's not going to happen?
What's
a new
that?
stadium.
That's true. We can almost guarantee that one. And the thing with new ownership, I wonder if
They're
that
gonna-
makes a new facility for the Stamps even further into the distance.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to come in right away and want to and want to spend that money, spend that capital to get a new stadium, unless you're like Daryl Cates, who money that he doesn't even know what to do with, or the guys that own the Nets and the Islanders and stuff like that. But Yeah, I think that, I don't know if, I think it definitely puts a big delay in it. 'Cause let's be honest, like, they do need a new stadium.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. Like, we got lucky at Grey Cup. We were really close to the one door. Bathroom was there. It wasn't very busy. We were in and out real quick. But you can get in spots. I was there for Heritage Classic.
Oh.
It was awful. It was the worst experience I've ever had until we went to Winnipeg.
That was a rough Grey Cup.
Dwayne
Johnson. Is Dwayne Johnson available? Cut from the Calgary Stampeders. Later buys them. But we've got a few interesting...
Would that be a conflict of interest, though? Because he owns the XFL?
We've got a couple interesting ownership situations going on right now. Look, MLSE has unlimited money, but I think it's clear they're not really interested in the Argos.
No.
They switched...
They did that as a PR. Like, oh, look, we're helping.
Yeah.
It's like me holding a flashlight for my dad, and he's still not back.
Here's a question. Like, if they don't own the Argos anymore... Sorry, I'm so used to them.
Yeah.
If they don't own the Argos, are they allowed to play at BMO anymore? I'm not convinced that they would be.
Well, they'd have to pay rent.
Yeah. So there's that.
And they're not. The Jays are not going to let them play it.
No.
Rogers.
No. And now
I don't know where you go.
The Calgary, we'll see what happens there.
Our City Stadium, I guess. Go play at U of T.
Yeah. And then Montreal.
Probably get as many fans.
we thought that Montreal was solid, but then the estate thing and so we really don't know what's going to be going on. It's going to be
they talked about it today, like they're not up for sale. It's
they
want to get it figured out, and then they'll get it solidified and figured out. It's just the situation right now, like, not the actual ownership of the team isn't the issue. It's within that group. So, I mean, I don't think it's anything to worry about. And then you have ownership like in BC right now.
Exactly.
He's knocked it out of the park.
Yep. Now, and the way that they were busing people in from Kamloops, Hope, Merritt, and they had ticket
and especially
packages.
Today.
Yeah. No kidding. There were probably people that said, I'm good.
I would not have been on that bus.
There were ticket packages for people that live on the island. And I know morning sailings, there was some dicey weather, so those were canceled too. To still have over 30,000 people in BC Place, it can be done. This is a great atmosphere, a great game.
You just got to have an ownership group who's willing to do something about it. Yeah. Vancouver cannot be your only draw.
No.
Like Stephen Carey in Prince George. They're 8 hours to Edmonton. Yeah. Right? Like, that's their closest team. Then they're Rider fans, but like, if anybody in Prince George, I'm a BC Lions fan. How do you get to a game? Like, going to a game is a 4-day thing for you. It's not
you're
cheap.
Calling them the BC Lions, not the Vancouver Lions, and Doman realizes that.
Yeah, and he's making it more accessible. And sure, you got 40,000 tickets sold. Yeah, they're not all going to be $200 tickets like they were talking about. Like, some of the packages were $100 or $50. Like, get the butts in the seats and make it affordable. And people will bring their kids and bring friends and get butts in the seats.
Mm-hmm. There you go. We've got the division finals set. It's Argos, Als, Bombers, Lions.
I mean, it could still basically be a rematch.
Because, as Ty likes to say, Hamilton is Toronto.
Anything west of Atikokan is Toronto, right? Or east of Atikokan, I should
say. This episode of Two and Out brought to you by Taproot Edmonton. If you want to get a handle on Edmonton's growing innovation scene, take a listen to Bloom, Taproot's newest podcast. Each week, host Karen Unland and Faiza Ramji will discuss the latest developments in efforts to solve new problems and diversify the economy. Find out who has invented what, who is investing in whom, and what is on the horizon. Find Bloom wherever you listen to podcasts or visit bloom.taprootedmonton.ca. Ty, overall, how did you feel about semifinal Sunday?
Did we get our question in from the email for the West semi?
Not yet. How loud did you squeal when Bo Levi went in? But seriously, did he do anything to make the Stampeders' choice difficult? He basically moved the ball between the 20s at a time when BC was playing soft to avoid giving up a big play. That's a solid.
There is that 100%.
But I think the money's invested in Mayer, and it's
the Mayer signed his extension. They're not going to pay Bo the same amount, or more than Jake Mayer now. He's gone.
Yeah.
I think that decision was made when they weren't bringing Bo in regular season games.
Yeah. I think we had good officiating, big plays all over the field in both games, and now we're moving on to the prairies. It could be about -10, -15 in Winnipeg. Tonight in Red Deer, I think we're getting down to -20. So,
you might have to open the windows and let some of that cold air in. Cheapskate, the old farmer AC.
Oh yeah, it's been awesome. Like during the winter, I saved so much.
Oh yeah,
to me, you
crazy.
can't put a price on air conditioning though.
No, if my air conditioner costs $400, like when
I'll
I'm
pay
home,
more than my mortgage a month.
Yeah,
to cool it.
Because why would I pay my mortgage and not pay AC and then hate being in my house? How does that make any sense?
Exactly.
My PlayStation and my projector run hot. The AC's got to go in the summer.
Especially when it's running, 12 to 13 hours a day. Then
the nice part is with the Nest, like I can turn it off when I go to work, and then I can start cooling it down like the 2 days before I come back. So I don't have, it's not like 33 degrees when I walk in the house.
As of right now, Brazilian Ty will be on back-to-back episodes.
Back to back. As long as I don't hit the ditch on the way back to camp.
The band is back together. We are on a mission from God for the Grey Cup playoffs, baby.
300 miles to Chicago. It's dark out and we're wearing sunglasses.
Rate, review, subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. You can like, comment, leave a review, and whatever you do on YouTube.
And leave Simone alone.
Yeah, especially if you're a Ryder fan. It's a bad look, man. Bad look. We'll talk to you on Friday, getting you ready for the division finals.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.